All right, Geometry SOL review. Get excited. Topic number 2, parallel lines and transversals. So the first thing we're going to do requires some color coding. So you guys are going to want 6 different colors. So go ahead and pause the video, find some colored pencils or markers or highlighters, whatever you're going to choose. You need 6 different colors. If you need to share with people around you, not a problem. So go ahead and pause, find those colors. All right, now that we got some colors, we're going to color code this stuff so we know where each of these angle pairs are and what they look like. So, vertical angles, which are angles number 1 and number 4. They're vertical, they are across from each other, they are in the same lines, some of the same pair of lines that are touching. Linear pair. Example of this would be 6 and 8. If you notice, ruler, they form a line when you put the two of them together. Hence, linear pair. All right, next up, consecutive interior angles. Here's where we're getting on pairs from different groups. Like I would say 1, 2, and 3 are one group, 5, 6, and 7, 8 are different groups. But they're all going to be touching this line in the middle, which is called a transversal. So consecutive means in a row. Interior means in the middle. And by in the middle, I mean in between these. So inside here, this is the interior. So consecutive interiors, an example of these would be 3 and 5. They're both on the inside and they're consecutive. They're in a row. They're right next to each other. Next up, we've got alternate exterior. If in here was the interior, that means up here and down here are the exteriors. Alternate means they're going to be on opposite sides of the transversal. So 2's outside on this side, 7's outside on this side. Alternate interior. This time they're going to switch sides, but they're going to be in the middle. That would be something like 4 and 5. Opposite sides of the transversal, both in the middle of the parallel lines. And then finally, we've got corresponding angles. Corresponding, they correspond to each other. They're in the same places. That would be something like 2 and 6. They're both in the top right of their group. So, something that can help us remember the sizes of these angles. A big angle's going to equal a big angle. A small angle's going to equal a small angle. One big angle plus one small angle is going to be 180. So let's look at the pairs and see how that works out for us. Vertical angles, 1 and 4. Were they both big angles, both small angles, or one of each? They're both big angles, so we know that they're the same. They're going to be congruent. Linear pair, 6 and 8. That's one small and one big, which means they add to equal 180. Consecutive interiors, 3 and 5. One little, one big, 180. There we go. Alternate exterior, 2, and 7. They're both little, so that means they're congruent. Alternate interior. Big, big, congruent. Corresponding. Little, little, congruent. Do you remember what it means if two angles add up to equal 180? That means they are supplementary. All right, let's look at this example. We're trying to find out which lines are parallel. So go ahead and fill in that we have line P up here as the transversal, line L, line M, line N, and fill in the angles that we're given. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and highlight the big angles. Big, 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 big. All right, so if there were other numbers written in these yellow spaces, if the lines were parallel, they would also be 110. But we're not given any of those. We're only given small ones. So we know if it's one big and one small, it has to equal 180 degrees. What's 110 plus 165? Or sorry, 110 plus 65. Well, that's 175 degrees. So L is not parallel to N. What's 110 plus 70? That's the 180. So 70 and 110. So we know that L is parallel to line N. Let's try it when the four lines are like this. This is going to be line C. This is going to be line D, line E, and line F. This angle's 100. This one's 80. And this one's 85. And again, I'm going to highlight my big ones and the small ones. So big, 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 big. None of these are even labeled, so I'm not going to worry about it. Big and big. Small, 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 small. We don't need those. All right, so let's look at them one set at a time. Pretend you can't read those. All right, so here we've got a big and a small. One big plus one small, we need 180. 100 plus 100 plus 80 is 180 degrees. Therefore, we know that C is parallel to D. Now, if we look over here, if we move our blinder, there's no information down here. So we can't use these angles to prove C and D. But what if we turn it and look at them this way? If we cover up line C, line D only has one piece of information, so we can't use that to prove E and F congruent. But what if we look here? Could E and F be congruent using these two angles that we were given? Well, 100 plus 85 is 185 degrees. So E is not parallel to F. All right, now it's your turn to use this information to help you finish the practice problems.